All right, so in this one, what we're going to do is now add an AI agent to be able to capture this incoming webhook that we did instead of bringing the items that are being sent over by the voice agent through the parameters to attach it directly like to the Google Sheet like we did earlier with the reservation, because we manually grabbed each one from the body, the parameters here, and attached it to the Google Sheet here. Instead, this time what we're going to do is we're going to replace this and add an AI agent here to be able to add additional tools to it and give this agent logic to make a independent decision based on the data that's coming in and do something with it, and then it can respond back to the webhook, and in our case to our voice agent here in n8n by this respond to webhook. So let's go ahead and remove this now. So I'm gonna actually, you know what, I'm gonna just make a copy of this so that way we can keep this for further processing later on. So I'm just gonna duplicate this, copy. All right, so now let's go ahead and work on this. So let's go ahead and remove this right here. Oops, I'm just gonna do that, there you go. Get rid of this connection. So here's where we'll add a AI agent this time. Go ahead and our AI agent. It's going to be a tools agent. All right, great. So it should basically look something like this, where the response from the agent should be back to this node respond to webhook, where this is going to send the same thing. The message here is just simply reservation is confirmed, right? Because once the voice AI agent determines all the necessary body parameters, which in our case is going to be the name, the email, let's see, what was it? No, the name, the date, the time, and the number of people for the reservation, right? So we have these two samples here. So now let's go ahead and actually add our chat model. So I'm going to use my OpenAI here, OpenAI, and GPT-4 Mini is fine with this one. You can always experiment even with this one as you build more and more complicated agents, especially with this voice agent. You'll see I'll also experiment with different models just to see which one gives me better results. We don't have to add memory because, again, I mean, we could, but for this one I'm not because I don't want to make this too complicated. But for tools, this time we're going to add our Google Sheets tool inside this AI agent, or we're going to attach our Google Sheets as a tool for this agent. So I'm going to go ahead and select my Google Sheets tool. And for those of you who had watched my previous videos about how to utilize this from AI functionality, that's exactly what we're going to do here, right? But for now, let's go ahead and get our, let's see, resources set automatically. Yep, we're setting it automatically on top right here. It says use the expression from AI, placeholder name, and placeholder. This is the key which is required. So our parameter, our key is going to be the value that we're going to grab from this incoming webhook. That's going to be the body of this webhook, just like we described in our reservation tool right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this thing out. So I'm going to go ahead and send a some data here. So let's go ahead and make sure everything is good here. So it says the first message is Jackie. So it says you're a support agent named Jackie and you're a friendly enthusiast, really want to help. So that's good. And then we have told it that you work at a restaurant called Joe's Diner. If a customer is asking for information about the diner, make sure you retrieve the information from knowledge base only. That's correct. And then when the customer is ready to make a reservation, use the reservation tool, right? That's exactly what we did. And we said that this is the reservation tool. This reservation tool, we gave it a description saying, use this tool to make a reservation for Joe's Diner. We have this post method here that we're sending this post method in this URL, and this URL is our webhook. One of the important things you have to understand is that whenever you refresh a page in n8n, and if you have a webhook, you got to make sure to go inside and actually change the path that you had set before, but it's going to refresh and it's going to utilize this default path, which is just random gibberish number. But for us, we had set the path to webhook-test/reservation, right? So make sure we change that, because right now it says webhook-test/ this whatever path number it is. So let's go ahead and change this to reservation to make sure that it matches our webhook there. I think that's good. respond using respond to webhook node. That's good to go. So now we're good. This is the exact URL right here. So now we should be able to receive that. And then the body parameters, we said in a friendly way, ask the customer to provide their name, date, and reservation. We're not changing any of that. We're putting in our properties here, and then also sending all of this via the body parameter of this webhook request, right? So let's go ahead and save changes. Actually, we didn't do anything, so I'm just going to cancel it. Okay, great. So we have the knowledge base. Everything else is good to go. I'm using GPT-4 Mini here. Let's go ahead and actually change this to Claude 3.5 because this is, I've noticed this actually works a bit better when it comes to the interaction back and forth. It is a little slower, but for this purpose, I'm going to demonstrate because again, this is just for demo purposes. So I want to show you guys that it should be able to have that natural conversation. And then down the line, we can experiment with different models to figure out the balance between the speed, the natural conversation that it's having with the customer, and then also its tool use, right? Because in our purpose, we're sending all of this information back to n8n to be able to do something with it. And therefore, we want to make sure we're selecting a model that has some kind of a, it has to have the ability to use tools. So therefore, Claude is one of the best ones. So that's why we're going to use this for now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. And once this is saved, hopefully we didn't make any errors. And then what we need to do is now make sure, go to the top and actually test this thing out. So let's go ahead and send some data. So that way we can figure out the proper messages, or figure out the proper data and process it right here. But before I do that, like I said, I want to send some sample data so that way then we can switch to our n8n and be able to do stuff with it here. So let's go ahead and send some data. I'm just going to test the AI agent. Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and shut this thing off, because then otherwise this is not going to run the workflow because it has error. And the reason why it has error is because we haven't defined this. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and actually do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the reservation here, the sheet 1. We're good to go there. So set automatically. That's good. Tool description. Let's see. Resource, get rows. The operation is going to be append rows. That's what, there you go. That's what we need to do. So now we're going to map each column manually, but this is where we'll utilize our from AI functionality. But for now, let's just leave it. Let's just send some data so we can grab that and then manipulate it and dynamically get the values from the body parameter that we're sending right here, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and save this quickly. All right, now let's test the AI agent. You will notice now, compared to the Gemini Flash, Claude is a little slower as far as the response back and forth goes between the voice AI agent and the customer. So you will notice a little bit of lag, but that's fine. Like I said, we can fix that later on. So let's go ahead and test this.
Hi, I'm Jackie. How can I help you today?
Hey, Jackie, I want to see if I can make a reservation.
Of course. I'd be more than happy to help you make a reservation at Joe's Diner. We're always excited to welcome guests to our restaurant. Could you please provide me with some details for your reservation? I'll need to know the date, time, number of people in your party, and the name for the reservation. Once I have this information, I can use our reservation tool to secure your table.
Okay, yeah, so my name is Jack Smith. The reservation is going to be for 6 people for December 20th at 3 p.m.
Wonderful, Jack. Thank you for providing those details. I'll go ahead and make that reservation for you right away using our reservation tool.
All right, perfect. So the whole point of this was to send some data, which we actually did right here. And now let's go ahead and interact with that data. So I'm going to go ahead and come right here. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this to the center, zoom in a little bit. Perfect. So now we have this data that's coming in from our webhook. Let's double check here. Yep, that's the JSON. So now let's go ahead and get inside this AI agent. Whoops. AI agent. All right, perfect. So now here's the incoming data. As you can see, the body parameter includes the number of people, which is 6. Date is going to be December 20th. Time 3 p.m. Jack Smith. So that's perfect. We got the exact information that I sent via that voice message. So everything is correct. So now let's go ahead and add the prompt here. So we're going to have this as tools agent. Prompt source is going to be defining below. And here's where we need to add this data that's coming in, right? So what I'm going to do is actually go right here, expression, maximize this. So now what we need to do is actually go ahead and define the parameters here. So let me go right here. So I'm going to say, give me some space. So I'm going to say date of reservation. Actually, I'm just going to keep it at date. Date. On top, let me do this. Reservation. Details, actually. Okay. Date. Time. Name. And then number of people, right? Number of people. And number is fine. You don't have to do this. I'm doing this just for the data to be clean, so that way I know what parameters are coming in. So the time is going to be right here. So name, and then let's grab the number of people. All right, perfect. So now this is the reservation detail that we have put here. Again, the reason why we're doing this is because now we'll be able to do things with this data that's inside our prompt right here, right? This is basically the user or the user message that's coming in, because this is the incoming data. So now we need to add a system prompt to be able to tell this assistant what you're doing or what its job is, right? So in order to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and type this out, and I'll come back and explain it. All right, so I put a simple prompt here in the the system prompt. So I said, you're a customer support AI agent that works at a restaurant named Joe's Diner. You're designed to handle various tasks efficiently. The reason why I'm giving it this kind of general system prompt initially is because we want to be able to be ready to add more tools, right? Right now, we're only going to add Google Sheets tool, but we should be able to attach more tools to this. So therefore, I'm saying various tasks efficiently. Your primary role is to book reservation for Joe's Diner. You have access to multiple tools to help you fulfill this request. So now we're going to define the tools that it has access to, and then what it should do or when to use these tools. So the first one, obviously, the main one is going to be the Google Sheets tool. So I said, use this tool to store reservation details. And the reservation details we defined on this right here, right? So now it has proper understanding of what its role is, when to use this tool that it has attached to it, and I'm giving this general prompt on top here that it will be ready for other tools that we can attach to it later on if we want to. So as now you attach more tools, you can start to manipulate this prompt and also identify exactly when to use the tool that it has access to, right? So for now, I said use this tool to store reservation details that's coming from the parameter, the body parameters here, right? So I'm saying keep responses concise, short, and relevant to users' questions. Actually, not users' question, I'm just going to say to the reservation. Okay. Here's the current date and time. Yeah, so I'm giving it the date as well because I want to make sure that it, knows, it's aware of what the day is. So in case if somebody calls in and says, hey, I want to make a reservation for tomorrow, right? Both the voice agent and the agent here needs to understand what day is today. So that's why I'm giving this. This is always a good practice to do this. All right, so we're good to go there. So now we should be good. Let's go ahead and test this thing out. But before we do that, obviously we need to fill the Google Sheets here. So here, this is where we need to add the name, date, time, and number of people. And those are the exact column names here. So we need to grab this dynamically, right? So the name is going to be, I'm going to switch to expression. We're going to do 2 curly brackets. We're going to do $sign from AI, as you can see right here. Whoops. From AI. And it says from AI, key description, type default value. If you're not familiar with this functionality, please make sure you watch the Mia Assistant video where I go in details and explain exactly what from AI functionality is. And you can also check out the documentation for n8n to give you a reference of how to use this. But to keep things short, and from AI, you only need a key, description, type, and default value. Key is the one that's required. Everything else is optional. So the key will be basically exactly what we want to name the column name. Basically, we should keep it as simple as that. So we're going to do from AI, the key. So make sure it's inside these quotation marks. Oh. And we're just going to simply say name. That's it. We don't need to put a description here. You could if you want, but we don't need to. So I'm just going to copy this. For date, do the same thing. I'm going to change this to date. And just add the column names, and that's the easiest way. And as you know, if you're putting more complicated items, then you can always manipulate this and add more description to it. Number of people. So I'm just going to say, let's just do people. There you go. I like to keep these key values very short. So, you know, if it doesn't work, if you see there's an error, you can always come back and change this. All right, so I think we're good to go here. Let me double check. We are good to go here. Sheet, yep, append row, reservation, sheets. That's good to go. Map each manual column. Yeah, map each column manually, and we're adding that. Perfect. All right, so I think we're good to go now. So let's go ahead and make sure that our response, so respond to webhook, right? So the webhook, once this is confirmed, the data is being sent. All we're sending back is that the reservation is confirmed. We can, and later in another video, when we build a more complicated tool, which is going to be the next video, I'm going to actually convert or change the data that's coming in from the AI agent and stringify it and basically put it in here, so that way it responds back to our voice AI agent. But for now, we're good here. So let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to get rid of this data that's there. Get rid of that. Let's go back. So now we should be able to test this whole thing. And if everything works, we should be able to grab the data here. So let me actually go ahead and come here. Refresh this page. This is the same exact table right here. And then I'm going to grab this, get out of this, so that way you can see this whole process unfold. All right, so let's go ahead and test the AI agent. So when you click on test workflow here, and it says it's listening, waiting for you to call the test URL, you have to understand that if no data comes in within a, I can't remember the exact time, but it does time out. So that's why, if you noticed earlier, as I started talking, then I clicked on this test workflow because I didn't want it to time out. So you can do that. But for now, I'm just going to stop this. We'll have this interaction with this little agent here. And because I want to be able to see that it populates the data on real time and it gets processed. So let's go ahead and click on test agent. I'm going to start to interact with it. And then as soon as it starts to grab that information, I'm going to click on test workflow. So it should be able to grab everything in real time. So let's go ahead and click on test AI agent. Yep, that is good. Yep, that's good to go. All right, so click on tap, call AI.
Hi, I'm Jackie. How can I help you today?
Hi, Jackie. How you doing?
Hi there. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. It's always a pleasure to chat with our customers. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Is there anything I can...
Yeah, I wanted to see if I could make a reservation for tomorrow.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to help you make a reservation for tomorrow at Joe's Diner. That's fantastic that you're planning to join us. To get started with your reservation, I'll just need a few details from you. Could you please let me know? 1. How many people will be in your party? 2. What time would you like to dine with us? 3. And lastly, what name should I put the reservation under? Once I have this information, I'll be able to secure your table for tomorrow. Is there anything else you'd like to know about our diner while we're setting this up?
Yeah, I wanted to see what the price of a T-bone steak is.
Certainly. I'd be happy to provide you with that information. According to our menu, the T-bone steak at Joe's Diner is priced at $40. It's a generous 500-gram or about 17.6-ounce cut, which is perfect for those with a hearty appetite. Now, regarding your reservation for tomorrow, would you like to proceed with booking a table?
Yeah.
If so,
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and book the table. So the reservation is going to be under the name of John Smith. And I want the reservation for December 20th at 5 p.m. And then the number of people is going to be 7.
Excellent, John. I'm happy to make that reservation for you right away. Let me use our reservation system to book that for you. Great news, John. Your reservation has been confirmed. To summarize, we have a table for 7 people reserved under the name John Smith for December 20th at 5 p.m. We're looking forward to welcoming you and your party to Joe's Diner. Is there anything else you'd like to know about your visit? Perhaps about our menu specials or any dietary requirements for your group?
Thank you. All right, so you saw that. That's good. Everything went through. Everything came out. One thing about when you saw that little delay when it stopped talking while this was being processed is that has to do a lot with the LLM that you choose. In our case, Claude is really good at this interaction while it's grabbing this information and sending it back via the webhook here. But the problem is that when this gets processed, or when this is being in the process of sending that information and retrieving it back, and while n8n is processing it, it does pause a little bit. But you want to test different LLMs now to be able to see that balance between what interaction or the speed of interaction or how natural it is. And that's why, like I said, we have to test out different large language models to see which one suits best. But the whole goal of this was to showcase that, hey, this is actually able to send information here to a webhook, to an AI agent that can retrieve that information from this from AI function and be able to add that information into our Google Sheet here, right? So that was the whole point of this, and that's what we achieved from this. So in the next video, we're gonna now make another more complex AI agent here, and I'm gonna make that for my AI agency, AI workshop. So for that, I'm gonna add additional tools to this. I'm gonna add reservation for booking appointments, so it will have access to calendar, and then a few other things there, and then obviously we'll make the tools complicated as well. Okay, so this was hopefully this gave you a good idea how to attach an AI agent, get some logic, and then attach some tools and interact with the voice agent that's coming back. So build this thing out, make sure you test it out with different LLMs inside this voice agent, which is right here. I mean, like I said, right now I have that, as you can see, Claude 3.5. So again, this is where you can change this to GPT-4 Mini, test out how that feels, the interactions, the lag, all of that. And you can even try the Gemini Flash and all these other ones to be able to see which one works best. But like I said, the whole point was this to understand how it can interact with an AI agent, and that's exactly what we achieved. So on the next one, like I said, I'll build a more complicated one and go through that step. And then, like I said, as time goes on, I'll build more and more and add more AI agents and more functionality, because there's a lot that we can do with this particular voice AI agent. So one more thing I want to point out is the analysis right here. So you can always add analysis and be able to interact with the history here. So if we click on the left-hand side on our agent here, if we go on conversation history, so this is where you can actually see. So right here, we actually had this conversation. We just had this, right? The conversation that gives you the summary, so the call status, and if we add those additional parameters here, like the call analysis, and if we're grabbing some data, or if we're instructing this voice agent to grab data, then it will be able to do that here. And as you can see, it provides you this summary. It says the conversation involved customer named John Smith making a dinner reservation at Joe's Diner. The customer initially inquired about the price of T-bone steak, which was correct, and then made the reservation for 7 people on December 20th at 5 p.m., right? So that's what you can see, the little history here. You have the entire transcript, right? They have access to all of this, and you have the client data as well. The reason why it says no client data is because we didn't identify the client data that it needs to gather. And the way to do that is you would basically go to the analysis section, and here's where the data collection is. So in the upcoming videos, we'll also do that as well. We'll identify some data to gather during this conversation to be able to do analysis with that later on. But anyways, more on that on the upcoming videos.